Hey, welcome to Nomad and Procreate texturing static reference planes. If you know a better way to do this, please leave it in the comments. This took me all day yesterday, well, not all day, but way too long to figure out how to do right. And if there's a better way to do it, I would love to know. All right, so just to give you an idea what I'm talking about, when I sculpt, I like to have guides, and I like to have lots of them. And I want them to be static, or what I mean is remain in place with whatever I'm sculpting. You can see here I'm working on a skeleton, and I've got multiple guides. Even for like you can see, I've got a long guide, and then a shorter, more detailed one for the end of the femur there. I just like having lots of guides, and I like being able to put them where I want them. And what I did initially was I found a video on how to add a texture to a plane using vertex paint. But the problem with that is to get any sort of resolution at all. And you can see I've got pretty crisp lines on these guides. To get any kind of resolution to your guides, you have to really subdivide the plane and add a lot of geometry that bogs down your device. And with the number of planes that I'm using here, I've got planes in here that aren't even shown. I think I'm close to like 30 planes or something right now. If I do the whole skeleton, I'm going to have just an enormous amount. So obviously I can't have a bunch of planes that have hundreds of thousands of vertices. It would be ideal to just have textures on planes that only have 4 vertices. Hold on, my cat is banging on the door. I have to spray her with water. Love my cat, but she's not allowed in here. Okay, so that's what this is about. Great account, Procreate FX has lots of great tutorials. He did a tutorial on doing a box reference, which is really good. I like it, but I don't want to use a cube because it gives me less control. Whereas with planes, I can really put the reference wherever I want. But as I was doing, trying to set up planes based on Procreate FX's tutorial, I ran into some of my own little glitches, and that's why I'm making this video, so that I remember how to do this and I don't run into the glitches again. All right, so back to Procreate. Okay, so I love Nomad and I love Procreate. They don't seem like they're designed for this workflow, but this is my workflow, and it took me a long time to figure out how to do this. So let's dive in. Okay, so don't need this. So the place I start is I've got my guides. You can see I've got a top, here we go, a top, a front, and a side view. And I already exported, I think, the front and top views. So what you want to do is make sure that you've got each of them on a layer with an alpha channel. Turn off the background so that it's just the drawing. You want to use a bright color. Dark colors are not going to show up for this. And go to Share, click PNG. I like using Save to Files. I think you can use photos, but it just makes it easier to keep things organized. Like you can see in here, I've got for the skeleton under E-crochet, I've got a folder for femur, and I've got bottom detail, long views, pelvis relations, and each of these has a lot of stuff in it. So that just doing it through files makes it easier for me, I think, to keep things organized. So I'm going to put this in tutorial. I'm going to make this named side. Done. Okay. And I'm going to hit save. And oh no, I already have side. So I'm just gonna hit stop and figure out. Okay, so I gotta do top. Okay. So, and when you export the PDF, or the PNG, make sure that you have just the image for the view that you want to export turned on and viewable. So share, PNG, save to files, not in there, I want it in tutorial, and we're gonna call this top. And for right now, these names are just for me to keep things organized. Names will matter, but at this point, the names of your layers and your files is not a big deal. Cancel, I'm not drawing on anything right now. So going back into Nomad Sculpt, let's start a new file, and we will delete the sphere. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna add a plane for us to texture. Doesn't matter what the project name is. And I'm going to validate it. Oh, oops, I don't want to do that because I made that plane way too big. I was not thinking. I want to add a plane, and then I want to turn down in here in topology. I'm going to turn the topology all the way down to 0. Because I don't want it to have a lot of vertices. You can see up in the upper left hand corner, it only has 4 vertices, and that is what I want. So I'm going to validate that. I'm going to go over here. You've got multi-res voxel, dynotopo, and then the one with 3 dots under it has my UV auto unwrap in it. So I'm going to unwrap. Doesn't take long because I've only got 4 vertices, which is nice. And then I am going to export it as an OBJ. I don't think you got to export the normals. And I'm going to go directly into Procreate this time because I only need to do this once. And it takes me back to the thing I was working on. But if I go out to the gallery, you can see the first thing now is my project. So I'm going to drag that into my stack that I'm using for this Nomad tutorial, because I like to keep things organized. I'm going to rename this. I'm just going to leave it my project for now. But the name of this file is going to be very important. Okay, so the issue with the name is if you don't name it quite right, or if you give it the way this works is Procreate will export the object into a file, and it will give the folder into a folder of files, and it will give the folder the name that whatever you export as. But within that folder, the files are going to have the name of whatever the name of this project file is, and then that gets Nomad confused. And so this is about how to get around all that, or rather navigate it, because as far as I can tell, there's no getting around it yet. So I'm going to, first thing I'm going to change this base layer. Click on the little square, the 3D cube there, click on color. We want it to be black, and hit fill layer. Okay, and then it's important when you import, you're gonna have to select, and see I've got color selected here, select the base layer, because that will import into a new layer above it. Add, insert a file, and it brought up tutorial, so I'm gonna add front. And so here's something it does is the guides, I drew them all on 4,000 by 4,000 canvases because I like them nice and crisp, and they import really small. So the first thing I do is I try to align it here, and it imported it kind of into a corner. So I'm gonna center it as much as I can, and then I've got automatic, with the move tool, I've got automatic selected. If I just resize this using like a pinch, it's gonna rotate a little bit. Here, I'll show you. Oh, that wasn't good. Hold on. I'm not a professional. Okay, so if I use a move tool, I move it, and then see if it's real easy. I can't really tell if I'm perfectly straight up and down, and I want to be. So I'm gonna undo that, and I go to advanced. And then I can use the big circle to scale it to the size that I want it. Now, there is a slight issue here, which is that I can't really move it around with the advanced one. I mean, oh, okay, right there I got lucky, but usually I wind up doing this, and that's not what I want to do. So to move it, I always use it automatic. But if here's I don't know if this is a glitch or what, but if I'm in advanced already and I've resized it, and then I click automatic, usually it flies way out of screen. That's there you go. See, that happens. So typically what I do, and I'm gonna delete the insert image and start this from the beginning here. Insert file, front, imports, go to advanced to make it bigger. And then I realized I didn't center it. So I turn off the select tool, turn it back on. Now I'm good to move around in automatic and shift it around. And then I'm gonna put it towards the center, and I'm gonna scale it up. Okay, and then see right here, color is selected. If I import right now, it's just gonna overwrite this. So I have to click on the layer, and then I can add my other ones. Insert a file, I'll insert side, and I'm going to move this about here. Turn to advanced. You can move it before you can size it, but you can't size it after you've moved it without turning the tool off. And as I'm doing this, I'm kind of eyeballing it. I'm using the propeller as a guide to make sure I've gotten the scale right. And I think that's about right. Okay, and I'm gonna turn off the tool again because I want to move it in automatic again. And real quick, I'm just gonna check. It's a little bit too big. So I'm gonna size it down just a touch. You wanna make sure that everything aligns at this stage because you're gonna have to do it again at other stages, but if it aligns in this stage, then it'll definitely be easier. And I'm not sticking it up here. I'm trying to get it kind of, like I said, in line, same size and lined up. I'm gonna click on this. We got a jet plane here with flowers instead of missiles. All right, so insert a file, do the top, and I'm going to use the front to try and align this. I like to turn down the opacity on one of the pictures because it makes it a little bit easier for me to tell what I'm doing and differentiate between the two. So I'm going to move this because I'm in automatic, and then I'm going to size it up, and I'm using the wings here as my guide, because if the wings match, the rest should match. And then go out of that. So now I've got my three layers. I don't know what layer 5 is doing in here, but I don't think it matters. I'm gonna get rid of layer 5. Okay, so I got side, top, and front, and I'm gonna turn the opacity back up. Make sure if you mess with the opacity, you put them all back up. Okay, so here's the tricky part, but I'm gonna start a new video before I get into it. This is where names are gonna matter. So I'm starting with my front, and I go back to the gallery, and I'm gonna change my project to front. And if you've got a lot of planes, like I do with the skeleton, you might want to add some other identifier. You know, if I had other stuff in here, you know, I might do PL for plane and then plane front. Plane as in the aircraft, not to be confused with plane, the geometric object that we're putting this on. Okay, and then I go back into the file after I've renamed it, and I do share, obj, save to files, not in here, want it in the tutorial. And you see, it's not a file, it's a folder named PL front. And I can change this name to something else. Let's call it front. Let's just do 1, 2, 3, just to make it easy to see the difference. So I'm going to call this 1. And hit save. And then again, for the next ones, I'm going to go into the side. And I'm going to go out, change the name to PL, following my naming convention, side, done. Go back in, export the OBJ, save to files, tutorial. I'm going to call this one 2. Done. And save. Export successful. Okay, one more. The top. Go out to gallery. Top. Done. Click the wrench. Make sure it's on share still. OBJ. Save to files. I'm really hoping I don't miss something so that I have to remake all of this. And I'm going to call this one 3. Okay, so the names of these folders don't matter that much. The names of these folders is just for my organization. Nomad doesn't really care what the names of these folders are. Nomad cares about what the names of the things that are in these folders are. And that is not something that I have control over in this export process. The only way that I have control over that is when I go out to gallery and edit this. This is what the contents of that exported folder get based on in terms of naming. Okay, so I have exported everything I need. Let's go to Nomad Sculpt. And I don't care about this plane anymore, so I'm going to delete it. And let's go over here and I'm going to add a box. I'm going to validate it. And this is going to be the box that I would sculpt in. Make it a little bit smaller though. So it should show up kind of in the middle of my planes. All right, and then now I'm going to go to the project and under import, I'm going to click add to scene, import new file. And I'm going to navigate, it pulls up my file thing. I'm going to navigate back. I'm going to go to my tutorial folder. Now you can see this folder had the images, which are just PNGs. I don't think you can just import the PNG. I'm going to go into 1, which was the front. Select, I'm going to choose all of them. I'm not sure if you actually have to choose all of them, but I do it. One time I think I did this correctly without choosing all of them, but just in case. You hit open, and then it pulls up a plane. It's got that UV on it, but if you look in the lower left-hand corner, the UV is highlighted. We turn that off, and we've got our plane. It's imported. It basically looks right. I've got the box in the way, but otherwise it looks good. Also, I like to have lock on in the lower left-hand corner because if you've got a lot of guides, it's really easy to accidentally click. If you remember the skeleton, I had a ton of different planes. When you're sculpting, it's really easy to accidentally start sculpting on one of your planes if you don't have the lock on. So I turn the view select lock off, and I do all of my selection up here in scene. Okay, I'm gonna pause again. Okay, so now I'm gonna just go ahead and add the others. And I typically just import them all before I align them, because with 3, if I were actually modeling this plane, I would probably adjust and align them myself. but I don't, or I would do it as I went after each import. But if, I'm doing something else, I might have a lot of these, and so I kind of like doing this all as one process. And import the top view. Oh, not the top view, this one's the side view. Silly me. Okay. All right, I got them all open. And then because I was careful about alignment before, they should all basically be aligned. And I'm going to go into my scene guide, and I'm going to turn off, I'm going to name, well, let's turn them off. Okay, so I turned off the other two. This one's clearly the side, so I'm going to name it that. Turn this one on. This one is the top. And this one is got to be the front. Okay. Top's going to be easiest, so I'll start there. Get it selected. I want it to be above my box, so I'm going to move it. And using Gizmo, I just slide it up. And now I go into the material button. I click additive, and I turn the opacity all the way up so it's nice and bright. And you can see it still kind of shows the plane, and with a little bit of a whiteness there. In the other video I saw by Procreate FX, he managed to turn always unlit on, which was really cool, and it did exactly what we would think we'd want and just give us the traced image. But for some reason, in the process I'm doing, I haven't figured out how to not have it be just a bright white plane when I do always unlit like this. So I'm not going to do that. I think it might be because if I go into the paint material, no, it's like a dark, yeah, I don't think that's actually applied to it. So anyway, but this is good enough for me. So let me add in the other ones and get them aligned. Side. And what I like to do is I use the gizmo and I make sure snap is turned on to 90 degrees, and it makes it really easy if I'm working with like a box shape. And do this and rotate it that way. And then I'm going to change the material to additive, opacity all the way up, and then move it to the side. That's the thing though, is if you're sculpting, this box is in front of the plane, I can't see the guide. So you want the guide kind of in front of whatever you're sculpting, or in between you and whatever you're sculpting. And then get the front in there. Again, gizmo is still locked, which is nice. Rotate it. And sometimes, depending on how things are imported and whatever, this stuff might not be rotated correctly. I've had it where it comes in and it's upside down like this, and that's pretty easy to fix. You can just different combinations of gizmo rotations, and you can get what you want. And that's pretty much it. And I would be ready to sculpt. The only other step would be here. Actually, if we look at this, we can see my side and my top are not quite aligned because I didn't bother to do that carefully. But especially if I were doing, if I were doing like a close up on the propeller, let's say, I might want to align it. So I don't know if you can see that. Hopefully you guys can tell the propeller is the propeller up top is just a little bit further forward than the propeller on the side view. So I'm going to move the side view forward. And the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to select the top, and I'm not going to move it or shift it at all, but I'm going to actually, I'm going to go ahead and duplicate this, just so I don't mess up, because I've got the top exactly where I want it. So, and I'm going to, after you duplicate, you want to rename it just in case, just so you don't lose track of stuff. And then I'm going to rotate the duplicated top and slide it down. I'm going to turn off the box so that I can see what I'm doing. And go exactly to the left. Zoom in. Now you can see the mismatch there, and I don't know why these didn't come out crisp. You can see some artifacts, pixelation on these. Sometimes I get them to come out real crisp. Sometimes I don't. I don't have that. You know, I got the skeleton ones to come out perfect. These not so much. But neither here nor there for the moment. And then I will switch to my side view gizmo, and then all I do is I just slide this into place. Now I can see that that is aligned. And I'm going to check the side view with I'm going to delete the top duplicate, and I'm going to duplicate this too. And F'd up, and I'm going to rotate this one and make sure that this is aligned the way that I want. And I can just shift this one through that, and I can see the propeller is aligned. And if I look at the wings, those look like they're basically aligned. Oh, I can see the tip of the wing does not align with that, but that's actually a problem with what I drew, not with how I've set these up. The propeller's right. The wing, as I sculpt this, I'm just gonna have to decide which one takes precedence. But the rest of it is basically where I want it. I did not really try to make the flowers correct. But the side pretty much looks good. The cockpit is just a little bit taller in the side view. I thought I got that right, but anyway, close enough. I think that pretty much covers it. So happy sculpting, and thanks for watching. Wait a moment. I just realized there was one thing I wasn't thinking about. Let me show you what goes wrong. And how I kind of came around to this. So one of the files we imported, let's say I want to add another one. Let's go into plane guides, and let's duplicate the top, and erase. I want to name it just so I don't lose track. It would be embarrassing. For whatever reason, I want a bottom view, and I'm going to go in and kind of draw the bottom view. I got to turn off my assisted drawing. Edit drawing guide, turn off the assisted drawing, done. Get my pink color. And so from the bottom view, I would be able to see these. I really wish I could pin down exactly how I got the resolution to come through correctly, because they were so pixelated this time. Unfortunately, I have no idea. I'm gonna try. I hate long videos, and I'm already running over, so that'll have to be a subject for another video, or hopefully somebody in the comments can figure that out and tell us what I did wrong here. Okay. I don't have the flowers in the top or the bottom view, because this is just an example, and doesn't matter if I'm perfect as long as I get across my point. Okay, cool. So we've got a bottom view now. And so I'm going to export that as a PNG into save to files, into my tutorial, bottom, done, save. And then I'm going to go into my reference plane, and turn these off. Well, turn it back on. I want the top so that I can make sure things are right. Okay, so I'm gonna add, insert a file, add the bottom, and I'm going to move it a little bit so it's kind of along there. Hit advanced, I'm gonna size it up because I want it to match. Oh, see, I did the thing. I went to automatic without sizing it. So I have to undo that, all of that, go back. I'm in automatic. That's that glitch I was talking about. You can't go from advanced to automatic after you've done anything. Size it up. Yeah, that's where I'm losing resolution. I don't totally understand it because I don't think, it would imply that this plane is like 12,000 resolution or something in terms of what's going on here. I don't know. I'm going to move it so that's aligned. That's close enough. Okay. And then I'm going to turn off the top. Okay, so the next step would be, typically, if I were doing this the correct way, the next step would be to go out, click this, name it to bottom, but I'm going to leave it top. And I'm going to export this, share OBJ, and save to files. And like, this is what I was doing before. I was thinking, okay, cool. Well, I've got 1, 2, 3, and the top was one of those, 1, 2, 3. So as long as I make the name something different, it should be fine. But the problem with that is that I go in here and to Nomad, I import to the scene, I add something in. And if we go into, which one was it? Was it 1? No, that's the front. 2, that's the side. 3, okay, 3 was the top. And if we look at this, we can see top.mtl, top, and top is the .obj file. And that, if we go into our bottom, it's still, this isn't bottom. And I don't know if you can see the image in the video, but the image is definitely the bottom image that we just exported. But the names of the MTL and OBJ files are top, which was the name of the file that I didn't change. So if we select these and import them, something unexpected and unfortunate happens. The image does not import the way we want, because that was supposed to be the bottom, but if you look at it, that's the texture that was on our top. And that's not what we want. That's not the bottom texture that we just made. It's not the bottom texture that shows in the preview. If I go in here to import, that's a different image than I'm looking at there for matte 0 plain color. But no matter how many times I might import this to a new plane, it's just going to be that first one that I imported. And the more that I mess with this, the more finicky it gets. Sometimes I have imported a new one and Nomad adds the new file correctly to the new image to whatever I import, but then it'll take that texture and apply it to every object that was imported under that name. So the only way that I've seen to go around this is to change the name of the project in Procreate before I export it for every single different texture or plane that I want. Not really ideal, but it does work. So like I said, if you've got a better way, please tell me in the comments. Otherwise, at least this does work and you can have as many reference planes as you want. All right, I think that covers it. Oh, and a final thought that I almost forgot. You can't just go in and change the names of the files in your file, the file explorer. The only way that, if I were to go in and change that file, the top.mtl in the bottom folder to bottom.mtl and change the obj file to bottom.obj, that won't work. It'll import and it won't, I don't think it'll it'll keep the same image as the other, as the top, but it will not import with the image that I want. It just imports as a plane that has this UV texture mapping image on it. It does not have the image that I want. So the only way to get it to import correctly is by using the Procreate export process. You have to name the object, again, unless I'm missing something, which hopefully I am, because it'd be preferable if there was an easier way to do this. All right, thanks for watching.